Welcome back to Bitcoin and Beyond. Today we have Robert from BitCosm to talk about some of the advancements that they're making in scaling Bitcoin. Welcome, Robert.
Hey, yo, everyone.
Welcome in, sir. Excited to learn more about what you guys are doing. Would love to learn a bit more about yourself and your background, and we can jump right in.
Absolutely. And yes, we are cooking a great stuff. So just to intro myself, I'm Robert. I'm a lead developer in Cosmos ecosystem. My background is in commodity trading. I was also working for SIX, that's the Swiss exchange, in the private Swiss banking. I did like a few startups, and then since 2017, 100% in blockchain. I was like one of the co-authors of Ethereum, early on Algorand, and yes, now all in Cosmos.
One of us. Well, let's dive right in, sir.
So yeah, let me start. So I guess not many people heard yet about BitCosm, but it's really like a new thing. Hopefully it will be a hot thing in Cosmos and beyond. Let's kick it on. I put like here a few words: programmable, native Bitcoin appchain, and this is what we will drive here, and this is how we differentiate ourselves from other ecosystems. So let me firstly start by talking about the layer 2s. As we all know that Bitcoin has a smart contract and a language, Bitcoin script, and Bitcoin virtual machine. It's very primitive. Yes, you cannot do many things. It's not like a Turing complete virtual machine like in any other modern blockchain. However, it's pretty powerful. So it allows you to create layer 2s. However, those layer 2s are not the same as most of the people can think, like from the engineering perspective, especially with the boom of Ethereum layer 2s. So, we love layer 2s. We were talking about, all this landscape since Plasma, since in Ethereum, right? And then like the Lightning, like the whole payment channels, it's part of the Bitcoin from the very, very beginning. Is how we can scale those Bitcoin transactions. So I want to clarify it here that Bitcoin layer 2 means Bitcoin aligned. And this is very important because every single Bitcoin layer 2 doesn't inherit the security of a Bitcoin as a layer 1. So normally if you hear, okay, we are Bitcoin layer 2, it's not the same as like what in each land we think about as a layer 2. Also, maybe a comment here that most of the Ethereum layer 2s, they have on the roadmap to be fully secured by Ethereum, but they are not there yet. Yeah, so there is like the concept of slashing mechanism and all of that stuff. Most of the cases is not implemented. So yeah, the traditional, we have a layer 2. It doesn't have to be a blockchain. It doesn't have to be. It's basically like off-chain stuff, right? So off the layer 1. I use here a DLT, meaning decentralized ledger technology. So we have a concept of a ledger. Yes, we can transact. That's what it means. Yes, we can transact. And with the advent and the growing amount of projects in general in a different ecosystem in the chains, we see the same thing on the Bitcoin. And actually, BitCosm is the very first one that will provide security, secure level, without compromising at any single step the security of the Bitcoin you have. And that's crucial.
I would just push back on that a bit and look forward to understanding some of the technologies here throughout this presentation. But isn't there always trade-offs?
There's always some trade-off. Yes, we can talk about those trade-offs later on. But the core aspect here is is that, I mean, BitCosm is not layer 2, maybe that's a trade-off. Okay. But it's still like, Bitcoin aligned. So we can say, like, within this definition that, okay, BitCosm is layer 2, that meaning it's Bitcoin aligned. It's not Bitcoin layer, so it's not layer 2 in the meaning of Ethereum. Like, we don't inherit the security. However, we don't compromise the security of the Bitcoin and any native token. This comes from the zero trust narrative. Yes, that was part of your previous episode with dWallet network. So a little bit of the spoiler alert. Yes, zero trust. This is what we want to do. Okay, so let's go on. As I mentioned, right, like, meaning Bitcoin aligned, yes, doesn't mean that actually it's good, because the solution can be collusive. Collusive means that the set of operators or nodes can collude to steal the money or create a transaction, like a fraudulent transaction. Other aspect is like a federated multi-sig setup. So it's not decentralized enough, or it's controlled, like, who and how can actually operate the chain. So it's not decentralized. So there are aspects of decentralization, right? Decentralized meaning that anyone can change, anyone has equal rights. With a federated setup, yes, there is always some control. So it's a semi-decentralized, and the multi-sig is very limited, as we know. Many of them involve of this, so-called Bitcoin layer 2s, some complex locking mechanism. So either for what they want to do, like a staking or a bridging, or they basically use a custody bridge. Yeah, so going back to the multi-sig. This locking mechanism is, I will talk about it later, but there are various really exotic, I would even say, I don't want to say innovative, but exotic solutions, how people are thinking about using assets, Bitcoin assets, in their so-called layer 2s. Another aspect is the sequencer, so, or a block producer, maybe that's a better word. So whenever we transact, yes, to create a transaction, post it, and someone have to put that into the ledger. Usually it involves, like in the, let's say, multi-sig aspects, usually involves a centralized sequencer, can be a federated design. Lightning Network could be seen kind of like a federated, open federated, but again, you have every single point in the network is a point of centralization. So whenever there is a flow, and the flow is like have some hotspots, each of those hot nodes, it's a point of failure. But the general aspect of many layer 2s, yes, is that they have a sequencer. This is also like in most of the Ethereum layer 2s, they have a sequencer. The sequencer normally is not able to create a fraudulent transaction, but it's able to censorship. Other aspect, security aspect, is that sequencer can produce, in fact, wrong. If a sequencer is the only entity being able to produce the blocks, and we don't have a clear validation, right? So who's providing settlement, who is providing the validity proofs, then a user is like either have to watch or have to use some watchtowers to actually be sure that whatever the sequencer is producing is correct, because none of us wants to run a blockchain in a mobile. This is only possible, yes, like to validate the state of the blockchain with very clever zero knowledge proofs, right? But there's a difference, yes, between what the blockchain has in a decentralized manner, like decentralized blockchain, like Bitcoin can produce, and we can easily verify it on the mobile, and what a centralized sequencer can do. Because with the big aspect of the decentralization, we have, let's say, 1 million of the validators signing off the validity of the chain, of the ledger. With a centralized sequencer, we have only one guy attesting that. So this is important because while, let's say, there is 1,000 or 1,000,000 of really decentralized, so meaning that they don't have things in common, they don't have like really economical motivation to collude, but they have a validation, so they validate. With a centralized sequencer, yes, there is no incentivization, inherent incentivization in the network, yes, to provide a general purpose free validation services. So we need to pay, we need to have that watchtowers or other solutions actually to validate the state. And this is what you cannot do in a mobile, yes, in a high performance networks.
Robert, just briefly, when you say no Bitcoin settlement, what exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah, so with that, traditional definition of a layer 2, meaning that, layer 1 secures layer 2, usually it means that there is a validation mechanism provided by layer 1 to secure the layer 2. And that validation mechanism, once done, yes, provides the settlement. Okay, the layer 1 validated it, and the state is settled. Everything up to that point is settled. So that provides finality. Since Bitcoin VM is very limited, it's not Turing complete, but we want Turing complete execution environments, then we cannot validate. I mean, mathematically, this is not possible. Yes, you cannot reduce something with bigger computational capability to something that has smaller computation capability in terms of what can be computed, not the performance, but what can be computed. This is mathematically not possible. So Bitcoin cannot settle Turing complete transactions. Yes, this has to be done either using a third party, so you give up some trust, or a custody. Yes. So yes, so those sequencers, those mechanisms, federated multi-sig designs, if they're layer 2s, they don't really inherit the security of a Bitcoin. And also the slashing. In Cosmos, we talk about shared security, meaning that one chain can secure other chain. This is notably being implemented by the Cosmos Hub right now, where Atom being one of the biggest token by the market cap, total market cap, this can be used as staking for validators to also validate other chains. So that's one of the aspects of the shared security. There are multiple ways how the shared security can be implemented. Eigenlayer is also a kind of trying to provide shared security to AVSs. Bitcoin cannot do it, right? So Bitcoin cannot itself, by itself, we cannot provide shared security. There has to be a trade-off, yes, kind of a custody solution or a federated design, how it works. So all of this, okay, and one more thing, bridge not to bridge. With all of this layer 2 solutions, right? I mean, there's one aspect of the security. Second aspect is token. You want to use tokens. You want to use assets. However, as we know, I mean, when everyone talks about it, okay, the bridge is the biggest security hotspot in general in every single ecosystem. Because the problem is that when you have a bug in your system, but you are enclaved, you can fork. You can roll back and say, okay, yes, okay, we did it wrong here. Yes, we messed it up. Let's take the previous state and let's roll back and fix it. Once you have a bridge, you cannot do it. You are not sovereign enough, because now you're connected and the state can be settled, and your assets can be moved to other chains, right? So again, if you're layer 2 or side chain, and then you use bridge, I will bridge tokens from Bitcoin, which is very decentralized, very secure, to my layer 2, and then there is a bug or an attack, and then there is a bridge, so I can take an advantage and bridge this token back or somewhere else. This means that I cannot really roll back. I cannot stop, because now I would need to stop the whole ecosystem, everything that is connected to the bridge and transitively to the chain connected with that bridge, right? Because usually what happens is that when you have an attack, yes, I steal the money, and then I bridge it to other ecosystems.
Is there not
so you have that dilemma,
so
yes?
You're right that we have no existing solution to provide non-collusive and secure interoperability, and I assume that BitCosm will potentially be suggested as such. However, is there not a solution that is apparent, that has trade-offs which are reasonable for developers and builders of the highest security standards? What if you had to choose right now to bridge or not to bridge, or if you had to make a choice as to how to build a system to be interoperable in the Bitcoin layer 2 space now? Obviously, we're pre-BitVM, where BitVM needs a ZK verifier. Is the option just basically a multi-sig bridge? Is that really it? Or a custodial bridge, there's nothing else that's there's no lock and mint even using a multi-sig, or there's no intense or solver networks, it's just purely multi-sig.
Yeah, absolutely. So every bridge works the same way. Yes, you lock the contract, you lock the tokens or assets on one side, and then you mint on other side, and then you control. How do you clear the balances? All right. So this is how the bridge, because you need to have a clear, good accounting on one side and accounting on the other side. If there is a central party, who's responsible for minting, you actually don't need to lock. So let's say if you have CCTP, yes, I believe this is the name of Circle, who is issuing USDC. So technically, the issuer itself can act as a bridge, right? So you don't need to lock unlock. You can basically burn and mint, burn, mint, so on. But then you have again the risk, because you have a centralized party managing the USDC. USDC is also under the scrutiny of the US government and the related agencies. So there's a trust assumption. Every single bridge and every single bridge-related operator, like Circle, has either a point of centralization, like the example of Circle, or collusion, where you have a set of operators that can collude to do something wrong. Of course, there's a whole landscape, right? So in case of highly correlated multi-sig operators that act in the same company, then you have all this risk that what kind of a network zones do you have, what kind of internal operations, what kind of the walls you build inside the structure of the company, that this doesn't go in the wrong hands. Yes, because in a company you can have bad actors who may have some unprivileged access to hack the bridge. This is what happened, in fact, already a few times. Also, like, I mean, and then with a sufficient decentralization, yes, we really distribute distribute that risk, yes, to the decentralized parties, hopefully decentralized parties. So the more decentralization you have, the smaller risk for the bridge you have as well. But there's always a risk. And the bigger are the stake, the more incentive for an attacker or for the bridge itself, yes, it is to operate wrong. Also think about like the team itself. I mean, there could be a bug in the bridge, in the code, right, that can do, or like a backdoor, right, can operate, like, have that lock and unlock function in the way you want rather than in a way the network wants. And you cannot really control it as a user, right? Like how many people are really in a decentralized way reviewing code of every single bridge? So you have a high performance, high trusted, bridges built by communities, by decentralized teams, notably, let's say, IBC, with a good level of scrutiny, audits, and then you have other bridges. I'm not like, bridge auditor. I was doing internal audits within IBC, so I cannot say like, what teams are building like what bridge, but I can say, for example, like many of the new, I was recently analyzing Hyperlane. It's a good technical solution, yes, but it's rather centralized. It has many issues. I'm not sure like how many people reviewed and verified like the code, right? So it's very easy, like, to provide it, since it's like acts as a centralized entity. It's rather easy to update it in a way that it will start behaving in an unexpected way. Let's say it this way. So, but we cannot close ourselves. We cannot just operate in an enclave. So let's say we want to create that Bitcoin layer 2, but we cannot use any Bitcoin asset. We cannot use Bitcoin itself. So so we need to have a way to operate. I just want to say here with this slide is that actually bridge is wrong idea. Like, so not bridge and not having other solution is bad. It's not acceptable. You create your own chain, your own enclave, and you are not really layer 2. You are not layer. You're your own layer 1, but you will be a dead chain. Bridge itself, like I said, yes, you have many aspects of risk, and then you can navigate around that. And the important part here is going back is that because Bitcoin is very limited, the bridges you can have are also very limited. So you cannot have highly decentralized bridges with Bitcoin network. That's the crucial point. So now is the essence. So with BitCosm, we build with zero trust assumption. No bridge. We use dWallet. So dWallet, yes, can finally remove the cross-chain risks, the bridge risks, and lead the Web3 to a future with secure multi-chain interoperability. So we need to have the interoperability. But we don't want to have a bridge, especially with a Bitcoin because it's so limited. And here is basically the site list from Omer, who was also like citing Vitalik that the future is cross-chain with we need to have interoperability. So in cross-chain interoperability, yes, I call it interchain as well, but not future with bridges. Yes, no, like multi-chain, multi-bridge world. So at BitCosm, we want to this groundbreaking dWallet network that allows you to remotely operate in an MPC way, non-collusive MPC way, operate natively, let's say, as remote assets. So assets not directly from your own network. And the way how it works is that, again, we don't bridge it. So there is no bridge. So what is there? I mean, there is no bridge. What actually you do? And yeah, the solution is that you trust yourself, and you have that MPC network that will allow you to transact with other chain. But the key part here is that the network that you know, the secret sauce, cannot forge any transaction on your behalf. Bridge can do it. dWallet network cannot do it. And also, in contrast to any other MPC network out there, dWallet requires your shard of the key, yes, of transaction, to actually do anything. It cannot it cannot operate your assets without you initiating it. And it's also like very decentralized, like, you know, it can support thousands of validators. Omer was talking about it, I believe, a few days ago in previous episodes. So this is really the essence here, I would say. Zero trust, no layer 2, as in case of as I said before. So if it's not layer 2, then what is this? BitCosm is layer 1. It's layer 1, meaning that, you know, we don't trade off the aspect of decentralization. There is no single sequencer. There is no federated setup. There is no multisig. There is no bridge. This is just battle-tested, tender-mint consensus-based appchain using the Cosmos stack, so has the name, Bitcoin aligned. So that's the key here. All right, so since we are layer 1, then we are open to many innovations. We can actually, you know, upgrade it. We are sovereign. We are we have a full aspect of the functionality of the chain. We are not limited by Bitcoin itself, but we can operate any native Bitcoin asset directly with a BitCosm chain. That's unique because we eliminate all the risks of the native assets. We eliminate all the risk of the bridges. We provide programmability. We provide innovation. We can upgrade to, you know, whatever is best there is within the appchain world. And the only trade-off here is that what are the security risks right here, right? So the risk of the remote assets are eliminated, but, you know, you can still have that. Okay, like the BitCosm network can be compromised, but at worst case, yes, it's only the assets that are issued inside the BitCosm network, yes, are the risks. So it's a layer 1, but because we are Bitcoin aligned, we believe that this will generate a lot of interest from the biggest community in the world and the biggest asset in the world. So we believe that the security of everything that is happening in the BitCosm network will be comparable. Yes, we can you know, think about like I think we can really go beyond Solana with this idea.
So the native programmability and interoperability, just to double click on that, because I think it's an important part of BitCosm and the zero trust nature of the protocol. You said that there is no bridge. You're not moving Bitcoin from the Bitcoin L1, the Bitcoin network, to BitCosm. And so if you're not moving assets via a bridge, how do you achieve native interoperability?
Yeah, very good question. So interoperability here means that, you know, you can use the assets from Bitcoin, in fact, also other networks, everything that is connected with a dWallet network. And by the way, there are already every week there is a new network, well-known network, joining the integrating with the dWallet network. So interoperability means that you can use the assets and program those assets from other chains. So yes, we don't bridge, but you can create a smart contract. You can create a native module that will do something with it, that will support it.
Okay, so you're
Let's say,
yeah, please go ahead.
So let's say if I want to do an order book, right, and exchange. Oh, let's take a very simple example. In fact, peer-to-peer exchange. So let's I give you 1 Bitcoin, you give me whatever else is there. I can do it with kind of like a hash time lock script in a Bitcoin. Yeah, so I need to have the time aspect, because if you don't give me anything, I can recover my funds. However, if you give me something else, we can have this like a transaction, yes, to secretly share a pre-image of the hash to allow you to access the funds. This is very limited and also not user-friendly. With BitCosm, you can just create a smart contract for that. All right, so then the dWallet will be transacted. I can use the dWallet. I can pre-sign my transaction of the dWallet in the same way as I would create a Bitcoin script, but I don't need to do it. Right, I can just pre-sign my transaction and have a set of a BitCosm smart contracts, yes, to do all of that use cases. So it can be trading, can be staking, can be anything you want. Okay, and in fact, like the most interesting one will be governance, which I will just go right after that.
Yeah, so that it seems like, and I see where you're going with governance as an application of this interoperability, utilizing dWallet network. Are you passing messages between these chains? And so you're pre-signing on one network, you're passing a message to another network in order to instruct the transactions with assets on the destination network. And so you're not bridging assets or value, but you're bridging messages. And that's how you're able to accomplish native interoperability across chains?
No, there's really no bridge. So it's like really transferring the wallet. So like the dWallet provides that functionality that, the control of the assets of my wallet, right, can be pre-signed. And then once other aspect, so I'm triggering it. I'm allowing to act on my wallet as a future transaction if other condition on the BitCosm will happen. And that other condition, yes, could be that there is a match order, there is a governance proposal, there is a lottery, airdrop, whatever. Right, so I precondition my dWallet transaction with something that will happen, on the BitCosm chain, represented by a contract or a module. Yeah, so there is no exchange of the messages. I just
is it like
create a transaction. I created a future transaction that is waiting for a condition on the BitCosm network to happen.
And then is it a creation of a new wallet with the same user with the private key on the other network has access to that dWallet account on the recipient network?
So if you are transacting dWallet, there is no need for, this is like also the magic of the dWallet network. If you transact dWallets, we don't need to incur Bitcoin transaction. If you want to spend, so depending what's the type of a transaction. If I just want to transfer the dWallet network, then the dWallet has a feature, yes, to rekey the wallet and to assign a new owner. So this doesn't require a Bitcoin transaction. If I want to spend from my wallet, so let's say I pre-signed a spend transaction from the wallet, and then this will require a Bitcoin transaction.
And how does the BitCosm network or the dWallet network know that a condition has been met on the other chain?
Yeah, so I mean, here we talk about the BitCosm, right? So the conditions are on the BitCosm. So let's say if we talk about like a matching orders, then this order book has to be in the BitCosm.
Right. So let's say I want to combine order book with Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? And so an ETH to Bitcoin order book, and I want to, and so the way that it would work is, let's say I have Bitcoin and I want to trade for Ethereum. I could say I want to trade 1 Bitcoin for 50 Ethereum. And so if I pre-sign that transaction on the Bitcoin network, that pre-signature goes to BitCosm. And then if there is someone who does the same thing from Ethereum and pre-signs a transaction, they want to send 50 Ethereum for 1 Bitcoin, they pre-sign and send the pre-signature to the BitCosm network. Then BitCosm tells Ethereum and tells Bitcoin to swap and completes the transaction on Ethereum and completes the transaction on Bitcoin.
Yeah, so here what you would need to have is, I mean, the dWallets are so the dWallets are okay, yes, they are non-fungible, but those are kind of the same entity. So you have a dWallet representing your Ethereum account, and you have a dWallet representing your Bitcoin UTXOs. And then in the BitCosm, you can have a contract, yes, that will validate if you post 2 transactions, 2 matching transactions that can settle. So let's say if I'm pre-signing my so let's say in the contract I said that okay, that I can give away my dWallet only if there is a matching transaction that gives me 50 ETH. Then BitCosm, so I pre-sign it for that specific contract on the BitCosm. Then counterparty do the same for that specific contract on the BitCosm. And then BitCosm approves, and then the dWallet will execute it.
And does dWallet or BitCosm have its own validator set and its own nodes? Because you brought up CCTP, right? And for CCTP, we trust Circle to make the swap between the two. Are we trusting BitCosm or dWallet to make the switch and orchestrate the swap?
So yeah, it's a good question. Yes, what is the trust assumption here? So yeah, there are a few. Okay, that's actually a very, very good question. So here, yes, for finalizing the whole swap, we trust BitCosm that will approve that swap, and then we need to trust. So you have to trust. I mean, 2 conditions must to happen. BitCosm has to approve. So 4 conditions have to happen. First, I need to initiate it. Second, counterparty has to initiate it. Third, BitCosm has to match it. And lastly, dWallet has to settle it.
And does the settlement go on only dWallet, or does it go on, or it goes on Bitcoin, it goes on Ethereum?
We settle dWallets only.
Okay. And so
So if any of it is fraudulent,
Mhm.
nothing will happen and everything is like I mean, in order there's like to do something wrong. I mean, okay, what could go wrong? So BitCosm could fork and change the aspect of the contract. So let's say if the contract says that, I exchange one dWallet with 1 Bitcoin to a dWallet with 50 ETH, now we will fork, and then we pre-signed, but then the BitCosm will fork, and someone will change the aspect of the contract to match 1 to, let's say, 30 or 1 to 1. Then if those transactions are pre-signed, no, actually what will have to happen is that I will pre-signed, then the BitCosm will need to fork, change the aspect of the contract, and then the counterparty will provide a transaction, yes, matching the updated contract.
But wouldn't it just kind of come down to social consensus in this case? I guess it's almost like a worst case scenario. Like would there not be like an intervention between like the community and the team and be able to like do a reorg or to kind of like wind things back?
So normally, yes, this is a layer 1, a Cosmos layer 1, right? So in order to actually make that happen, more than 66% of the validators would need to reorg the chain, right? And then and then again, if user is seeing that this is happening, right, then you can cancel his transaction. Can create a new transaction to actually overtake the previous transaction and rekey to, let's say, new set of keys, new address.
So okay, so if it's a Cosmos layer 1 and there's validators, we want, like when we started, we want a non-collusive network to inherit the security of Bitcoin. But do we inherit the security of Bitcoin if we have to trust the validators of another Cosmos L1?
Yeah, a good question. So not really, because users have to approve all the time. The network itself cannot do anything with the dWallets, which is this representation of the native assets, without user consent. So even if the network collude, the worst thing they can do, they can change an aspect of a deployed contract, and if a user already pre-signed the transaction to provide a custody of his dWallet to the network, yes, only then his funds are at risk. Now contrast it with a bridge. If I bridge to other network, my tokens to other network, and then the other network will fork to reassign the tokens to someone else's account, then out of luck. Here in BitCosm, we don't have that risk. The only risk is, when you spend your tokens or your dWallet to a protocol. So let's say, okay, let me give you another example. Maybe this will clarify. Okay, I think maybe with Ethereum that will be more clear. You have your ETH in your account. Let's say you have 10 ETH. In order for someone to get an access to your ETH, is like either they will get in the possession of your wallet, or they will successfully fork the Ethereum as a chain to reassign or spend from your account. Correct? So both are unlikely.
Yeah, that's correct if the ETH is just sitting in my wallet. But if I'm
Exactly.
Okay.
However, if you stake your ETH in some DeFi protocol, then you're at the risk that that DeFi protocol doesn't have a bug, and also that that like the chain won't create a fraudulent fork.
Correct.
And here is the same in BitCosm. But in Ethereum, it only works with the native asset, so anything that is worked for Ethereum, because any bridged asset has the bridge risk. In BitCosm, we don't have a bridge risk, so any asset that is operating with a dWallet has no risk, zero trust. However, if I stake my native asset in a contract on a BitCosm, then of course, right, I'm giving my access to the protocol itself, to the one I'm staking with.
So BitCosm completely obfuscates away this bridge risk, and then
exactly. So we eliminate no bridge while we provide interoperability with the assets. So you can still use your asset to stake in the DeFi protocols. I can still use the assets for trading, but I don't have to bridge. Right. So it's as a native asset. Let's say the Bitcoin, the ETH, yes, has the same security as Bitcoin. The ETH has the same security as ETH. There is no additional bridge risk. While I can use it within the BitCosm contracts. And of course, if I use it in a BitCosm contract, then I inherit the risk of the contract itself. So okay, so this is this clear value proposition, unique value proposition. The risk is significantly reduced. User experience is good. We provide this interoperability, and another interesting aspect is IBC Gateway. Now I can use my dWallet, convert it to an IBC token, and then operate as an IBC, any IBC token in the IBC network. And then I can convert my Bitcoin to an IBC token, send it to Osmosis, trade it in Osmosis, send it to Penumbra to do the private mixing. I can deposit in UMI to get the leverage. I can liquid staking. I can do whatever I want. Of course, when I convert to IBC, then again I give away the access of the native asset to the protocol. So then I inherit the protocol risk or a bridge risk. Here in case of IBC, yes, I inherit IBC risk. Arguably, IBC risk is much smaller than most of the other existing bridges. But the point is that it unlocks really interesting features in what I can do with my assets. Right. So now in the Bitcoin, you cannot IBC it. You would need to bridge it, and then with bridging, you have a different token. Right. Here, BitCosm will allow you to create a native IBC token. Sorry, it won't be native. The IBC token of the dWallet, and use it in the IBC world. All right, let's go next. We can go back to those questions, but let me rephrase it. This is very important. Unique value proposition. The very first no bridge protocol that provides interoperability programmability with zero trust of operating within the native assets, plus IBC Gateway. So programmability, we talked about it. We want to start with CosmWasm as the go-to platform in the Cosmos land, notably more secure than Solidity, and we already work with and research how we can integrate MoveVM or EVM. Arguably, yes, EVM ecosystem is the biggest one, and we don't want to deny it. And now the second, in my opinion, biggest unique value proposition is sovereignty. In Bitcoin, I mean, the way how we operate as a civilization, okay, every organization has a level of governance. Every financial organization has some governance. We have agencies. Every human organization, as a humans, yes, we organize ourselves. There are contracts, be the marriage, be the family, right? Like, parents have responsibilities for kids. If they do something wrong to those kids, they can go to a jail. Marriage the same, right? When you divorce, you need to settle. With friends, in your club, you have a governance. You have collectives, companies, enterprises. Everything. I mean, this is how our civilization is built. If you want Bitcoin to be, the digital foundation of how we transact, then we need to provide those governance. Unfortunately, today there is no solution with a native Bitcoin for a governance. And since BitCosm is the very first and the only system that allows to interoperate with the native assets, yes, it will be also we will have a unique position to also provide governance mechanisms. And we want to have like a governance mechanism with many verticals. So that the chain governance, the whole DAO structures, but also ecosystem funding, creating regional development. So to create kind of like I call it grassroots DAOs. So we want to set up grassroots DAOs, create sub DAOs to actually grow the ecosystem, enable Bitcoin and beyond Bitcoin. In fact, yes, we can talk here about any other chain that has this limited capability to actually build that civilization, use it, unleash the power of what we need to create those digital collectives. So we can have like the very first DAO powered by native Bitcoin. We can foster innovation, manage commons, build awareness, actually build the communities and found the communities with a zero trust paradigm. All of it can be really done with a zero trust paradigm. The first time in the world, we can use Bitcoin with zero trust to create governance. And this, in fact, I found the circle like very inspiring, because you best perform when you do what you love to do, right? And what you are best at. If you like coding, but someone asks you to sing a song and you are rubbish in singing, then the outcome might not be the best one. You always want to get paid for, right? And like I said, there's always organizational aspect. Alone, 1 + 1 is 3. So this is like really allows us to grow. So with that, we have that growth flywheel, enable founders, developers, users, market recognition, financing. Very, very important to build ecosystems and civilizations. DeFi. We talk. I mean, every single chain talks about. No, every single layer 2 talks about the DeFi, right? Okay, we enable DeFi. We provide DeFi solutions. So why not? I mean, if we will have native Bitcoin, if we will have governance, our DeFi will be stronger than DeFi of any other competitor. So how does we stand out? So we have like multiple competitors, of course. Lightning, RSK, Rootstock, Infrastructure Framework, Nervos, Stack, Satoshi, BVM, Merlin Chain, Botanix. Each of them have like big complexity. They hide many risks behind their complexity, or some inherent limitations, or basically are just a side chain, not really secure. I want to quickly talk only about the Lightning Network here, because Lightning Network is very unique. We talk about Lightning from the very beginning. Payment channels are like you can say Bitcoin native. The payment channel itself don't inherit the risk, only the two-party risk. However, this is payment channel. Lightning networks actually exponentially increase the risk, because it's not only peer-to-peer, right? It's like any single node that operates on the network provides a risk to you as a customer, because now if you want to operate within the Lightning network, it's not only peer-to-peer, not anymore peer-to-peer, but there are intermediary nodes, and those intermediary nodes can go down. There is a dispute resolution that can be triggered by any of those intermediary nodes. The throughput is limited to the throughput of the network. I mean the volume, right? So you need to have a deposit. So let's say if the routing from me to Andy goes through Robbie, and I want to send 10 Bitcoin to Andy, but Robbie only deposit 1 Bitcoin, then the network can only support 1 Bitcoin transaction one way, and that's it. Yeah, for another Bitcoin, I need to find another path, another route. And there are many inherited risks for that. I really recommend anyone reading about the risk of Lightning Network. Because like the payment channel is really cool technology, but unfortunately it's only paid peer-to-peer between two parties. It's very secure, it's very nice. Not maybe the best user-friendly, doesn't have the best user-friendly aspect, but it's very secure. Lightning networks add a lot of third-party risk. So yes, with that, we built the community-centered layer 2 Bitcoin appchain.
Robert, thank you so much for coming on. It was a very inspiring talk, I think, because it's so unique. You guys are attempting to solve a very hard problem, and so some of these ideas are very bold, and it does take quite some mental bandwidth to wrap our minds around these ideas. I think because they're potentially very, very revolutionary. That's why it takes considerable thought to really understand the inner workings of this. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing. And very, very excited to see BitCosm as well as dWallet integrate into all these layer 1s and layer 2s, and ultimately provide a native solution for mitigating bridge risks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure to talk about BitCosm, and hopefully we'll have more and more interest. And yeah, any questions, please reach out to us. I should prepare some, like a follow-up links. Maybe we can add it later to the
yes, in the description.
Notes.
Yes.
In the notes.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. It's been a pleasure, and excited to see where BitCosm goes over the coming years, as well as scaling Bitcoin as a whole.
Yeah, let's build together.
That's right.
Let's do it.
In the name of Satoshi, sir. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.